Guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're keeping well. Now today's video is going to be an expose of Angela Rayner. She's being interviewed and it surprises me how someone with this intellectual capacity, someone with such a lack of knowledge of government policy, domestic policy, is Deputy Prime Minister. You're going to see it very shortly. She's going to be asked so many questions and she just doesn't have the answer. She's literally just reading off a script that was given to her by, I don't know, the Chancellor or the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. And that's what she seems to be repeating and echoing in this segment in which you're going to see. So I'm not gonna lie, I've had a little preview of the video and I have been laughing because yeah, it's just been such a disaster. Honestly, this Labour government have been so appalling, and many of the voters will go to Reform, many of the voters will go to the Conservative Party, you know, after a few years of this disastrous administration, in my opinion. This is what I think. So I believe the next election will probably be between the Conservative Party and Reform. Labour seem to be out of it. Not with this, you know, these kind of government policies and such a lack of knowledge of what you're even implementing. She doesn't even know. But anyway, guys, that's enough of the introduction. Let's get straight into the video, man. I can't wait.
Have a listen to that interview. Angela Rayner, thank you very much for joining us here today, and you're here because you've been named as one of the BBC's 100 women, a list of the most influential and inspirational women from around the world, so congratulations on that. The leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, is also on the list. She's also the fourth female leader of her party. Is it high time Labour had a woman in charge?
Well, first of all, we haven't got a vacancy. I'm incredibly proud to be the Deputy Prime Minister. I never thought Angela Rayner on that council estate, in my state school, my career's advice was never going to be projected that I would get to where I am.
Guys, I'm not going to keep pausing the video, just a quick point, very quickly. She said on my council estate. Now, she was incentivized to buy that same council estate which she grew up on by the Conservative government, and they gave her the discount, you know, the right to buy. And that is the same right to buy that she benefited from when she bought her council estate that she's scrapped. So the right to buy discount is no longer available, and she scrapped it as of, I believe, last month, November. So that's already point number one. But anyway, let's just carry on going. I'm not going to keep pausing the video anyway, guys.
But I've not done that in isolation. There's been many people that have supported me along the way, men and women, and I think that's the thing for me, is creating the space and often giving people confidence. I think the one thing with women is we often look at the things that we don't think applies to us, for example, on a job description, and we should be saying, actually, I've got so many skills, and pushing and supporting women to come forward.
I mean, Kemi Badenoch said she didn't want much made about her sex and ethnicity. Do you think she's right? It's not that big a deal?
I think it is a big deal, but it doesn't also detract from the skills that a person has. So of course it's a big deal, because I do think that women face barriers, and I think women of colour face barriers as well.
There we go.
It is important to recognise that, but also that it's not just that who you are, it's about what the substance is to somebody as well.
Well, let's talk about some of the stuff that's being brought to the table by you and others in this Labour government, because it's been a difficult few months, let's put it like that, since you took over in office. Controversy over donations, anger from pensioners, employers and farmers, and on Thursday there's going to be what's widely seen as a relaunch by the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Does he, as you said to me in an interview a few years ago, need to put some more welly into it, go in with two boots?
Well, I think that Keir's he's really grown as Prime Minister. I think he's taken to the job. He's done a fantastic job internationally, resetting our relationships. He's also set out our missions. Now, the plan for change is about really honing in on what the public can actually tangibly say, well, this is what we expect to see as an outcome from the changes that we've made after the very difficult inheritance that we got when we got in July. And
here we go, the £22 billion black hole. They can't stop going on about it, that they said they were gonna fix, And anytime problems arise, they say, hey, we inherited a over £20 billion black hole that we need to fix. So they carry on going on about this black hole, but they never have any solution to it. But when they were campaigning, they said they had solutions to it in their manifesto. But now, all of a sudden, it was the Conservatives' fault. Okay.
And it was, you know, really shocking to see the £22 billion black hole, and it's had a real, you know, challenge for us to be able to deliver on what we
about
wanted
sort of
to deliver.
personality and style, because that's what we talked about last time, and you said, I do think some of Keir Starmer's conditioning from when he was a lawyer and things like that just makes him take the emotion out of it and put the strategic stuff in. Does he need to give it more oomph on Thursday?
But I think the way in which we've all worked, both Keir's style, my style, and the rest of the cabinet, is about how we complement each other. And I think, you know, talking about leadership, I think leaders often have to recognise their skills and the way in which they can deliver, and also their weaknesses and how they can bring a team around them. And I think that's what the Prime Minister is able to do, is bring a team around him and recognise that actually the way in which he approaches a challenge is very forensic, and he goes through it in a, I've described him before as like a civil servant in the way he does it, because he has a duty and he feels that public service duty to deliver for the people.
But does he need a bit more Angela Rayner? A little bit more sort of on delivery, on a bit more style, on a bit sort of upfront in terms of what he's saying and doing?
Do you know, I think that Keir has to lean into who he is, because what's more important, and often people say to me, I don't agree with what Angela Rayner says, but she's got authenticity about who she is. And I think that's Keir. You know, Keir has to be him. And I think the delivery of what he's able to achieve, and look at what he achieved in the Labour Party in 2019, no one would have predicted that we would be in government in July of this year, and he's achieved that. So I would say, judging on his delivery as opposed to...
You didn't win the election, the Conservatives just lost the election. Like, they're going on like they had this successful strategy to get into government. Nobody wanted the Labour Party. If the Conservatives wasn't messing up, then I believe the Conservatives would have won the last election. So you just was the successor of the Conservative Party by default. They lost it, you didn't win it.
Since you mentioned
what character...
Well, let's talk about the delivery, because the Labour government, you have made growth the #1 priority. But a dozen recruitment companies have written to your colleague, the business secretary, saying that your workers' rights proposals, your employment rights bill, delivers the opposite of this. The government's own analysis has said they will cost business up to £5 billion a year. Is it time for a rethink?
But it also talked about the growth benefits for the pro-business, pro-worker approach to the employment rights bill. We've got in this country so many people that are in insecure employment at the moment, very low wages, and that affects productivity if you've got big turnovers. We've got huge vacancies. You've got
the biggest companies, recruitment companies, saying that it could put £34 billion of economic activity at risk. I'm just saying, do you think you would have a rethink on it?
Well, I think that there was an imbalance, and we spoke to many businesses. They've been working with us to get the employment rights bill forward.
Can you name a company, a few of them, that welcome these proposals?
Go on.
Well, we've worked with many of the companies. I've worked with so many of them on this. I've had many roundtables, as the business secretary, and they've very much welcomed the work that we've been doing on making sure that people...
You must be able to name a few, because I can name all the companies, the recruitment companies, Hayes, Manpower, Randstad. They've signed a letter saying this is the wrong approach, you're going to put jobs at risk. Which are the companies that have welcomed your employment rights?
Well, like I say, I spoke to many companies, we've had many roundtables.
Spoke to many companies, but she cannot give you the name of just one. Many companies, but one I cannot tell you. This is shocking, honestly.
With them, and we've been discussing it, and they've acknowledged that there has to be a balance and broadly welcomed it. We've made changes as opposed to, for example, on the probation periods when we listened to what business said. So we have the probation periods as well alongside the balance of rights from day one.
Will you get me a list of those companies, and then we can call them and say, do you welcome Angela Rayner's proposals?
She will.
Well, there's been many of the companies that we've worked with, like I say, so many of them.
You have committed as a pledge to build 1.5 million new homes during this Parliament. You are also the Housing Secretary,
yes,
as well as the Deputy Prime Minister. Almost every single Labour council in England that the BBC has spoken to says that those housing targets are either impossible to achieve, or they're unrealistic, or both. Are they wrong?
Well, we set out with the National Planning Policy Framework around mandatory targets. They were set on a rule which was around affordability, and we believe that they can deliver them with local plans. We're working with local councils and mayors to look at how we can deliver the homes that we
We've spoken to almost every Labour council, including Tameside, the council in your constituency, and they have said they are unrealistic and unachievable. So are you going to force their hand to meet those targets?
We are saying that they're mandatory targets and we want mandatory plans, so we're telling them this is what we expect and we'll work with them to deliver it. The Chancellor announced £500 million extra for the Affordable Homes Programme. We gave more flexibility with that so that we could get social and affordable homes. We've got a housing crisis in this country, and therefore I make no apologies for the mandate that we were given to deliver the homes that people desperately need.
Have you told those councils and those council leaders that that's what they've got to do? So you're not listening to them?
We are listening to them, and we've been very clear, and I think those councils will accept as well that this is a real emergency. Many councils at the moment are spending huge sums of money, which is giving them a financial burden on temporary accommodation, on people being in B&Bs. Over 150,000 children are now in temporary accommodation.
I think they understand the problems. It's whether they can actually deal with the targets being imposed on them. Last week, there was the first cabinet resignation. The former Transport Secretary, Louise Haigh, quit. And she quit after it emerged she pleaded guilty to a fraud offence, now a spent conviction, a decade ago. Do you think she's been treated fairly?
Well, Louise decided to resign, but Louisa did great work while she was in our cabinet, and she's a good friend of mine. I've known her for many years, and what she achieved in the short months that she was in the cabinet was exceptional.
Do you think she should have resigned then? Did you want her to resign?
Well, that was a decision that Louise took, and I respect her decision on that, but I think she was an outstanding member of our cabinet.
So it was her decision, not the Prime Minister's?
Well, she resigned, is my understanding, and the Prime Minister accepted her resignation.
Have you spoken to her? How is she?
I have spoken to her, yeah, and she's fine. She's getting on with the business of supporting the Labour government.
Should she take the £17,000 ministerial golden goodbye, the severance pay?
Well, if that's the severance pay that's offered, then that's a decision for her. And I think that if it's what is the rules and what's said that they're accepting, then I don't see why she shouldn't.
Polls have shown a big fall in Labour support since the election, with the Conservatives ahead in some polls and Reform UK picking up support too. What most worries you, Angela Rayner, the challenge from Kemi Badenoch and the Conservatives, or Nigel Farage?
What most worries me in the challenge is delivery, that we deliver, because I've always said it's been an absolute honour and a privilege to be elected to be an MP, let alone become the Deputy Prime Minister. And I feel a very weight of, you've got to do justice to being there. I don't want to let people down. I've always had that fear. That's what spurs me on. So it's not external forces. I'm my own biggest critic, and I hate losing. So actually I want to achieve those targets no matter how difficult they feel, like the 1.5 million homes target. It is a stretch target, but I'm absolutely determined to, at the end of this Parliament, to be able to hold my head up high and proudly say we give it our best and look at what we achieved, as opposed to the external challenges that we face.
And on that, when it comes to young people, and you're not that old, but young people today facing high house prices, high taxes, struggling public services, stagnating wages, trying to get jobs and cost of living pressures. If you were a young person now, do you think you'd be able to do what you've achieved?
I think like I say, it's a challenge, and many Angela Rayners who have done more than I ever did when I was at school face challenges. You have to have a little bit of luck. But what we put as one of our missions is an opportunity mission, and that means that giving the investment into our state education system, delivering on our mission so that people do have those opportunities that I had, and that's what this government's mission must be about, because it's not just about individuals, it's about what this country can deliver. And if you don't unlock the potential of everyone, then you miss out on the next person who could have the, discover something that we need. AI, we've been doing amazing work on that. We've got to unlock everyone's potential, otherwise the whole of Great Britain is held back as a
Guys, I'm sorry, man. Look. I'm sorry, I've let it play for a bit. Just a quick one. You are not incentivizing jobs, employees, you're increasing taxes. National insurance, VAT, income tax, you're increasing that. You're increasing employers' national insurance, employers' NI. Like, you are absolutely destroying businesses. Businesses have come out and complained that your policy is going to be harming their companies. And we asked her, well, this woman just asked her, like, okay, what businesses are in favor of what you're proposing? Oh, many, yeah, we've sat down with many, but I can't give you one, but many. There's no many. Just be honest about it. People are not incentivized, businesses are not incentivized, and employees are not incentivized as well, because taxes are just through the roof. What's the point in people going to work, doing extra hours, etc., only for their taxes to just carry on increasing?
That we can't take a chance on not unlocking that potential, because you never know which council estate or which area of the UK that potential is that is going to project our country and nation forward.
Angela Rayner, thank you.
Thank you.
And
alright guys, so that's the end of the video. I'm sorry I paused it quite a bit. There was just so many lies. There was just so many lies. I'm sorry, I can't just sit down and watch her just lie through her teeth to the public, you know. You know, the budget has been harmful to businesses. You know, the winter fuel payment cut has been harmful to elderly. You know, the warmongering neocons in this Labour Party that want to carry on forking over more money, $3 billion annually to Ukraine, is of no good to Britain. In addition, you're going to be accumulating more deaths in Ukraine instead of, you know, imposing a policy and an exit strategy for Ukraine in that. No, but Keir Starmer wants to say we will not, you know, bow down and we will not allow Putin to win. Like, why are you trying to, you know, raise your chest against Putin? This man and this administration have well and truly been a disaster. That's just me being super honest. It's a shame to see that they're going to be in power for years to come. What can come of this? I guess only time will tell. But anyway guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next video. Peace.